Welcome to Max Life Man, your essential YouTube channel, expertly led by our top expert, Dr. Sterling Thorne. Dr. Thorne and his top team from the prestigious Evergreen Peaks Institute bring years of dedicated research and hands-on experience in men's health. We deliver insightful, heartfelt podcasts designed to optimize your health and unlock your best self. Gentlemen, let me start with a question that very few men over 60 ever dare to ask themselves. Do you really know what your daily choices are doing to your body? The private habits you've kept for decades, the foods you eat each morning without thinking, the signals from your body that you've brushed aside. All of these are not small details. They are the very levers of your vitality, your energy, your manhood. For years, society has told older men a cruel lie, that what happens after 60 is just normal, that it's normal to lose your energy, that it's normal to wake up 3 times a night, that it's normal for erections to weaken, for desire to fade, for circulation to stall. That silence is strength and that talking about these things is weakness. But here's the truth. None of this is destiny. Decline is not inevitable. What steals vitality isn't the number on your birthday cake. It's the small mistakes repeated over time. And today we're going to break that silence. Because in this conversation, I'll show you the 4 dangerous masturbation mistakes older men make without realizing it. And I'll reveal one powerful food you can eat each morning to boost circulation and vitality. One food that can make the difference between feeling like your body is slowly shutting down or waking each day with strength, confidence, and clarity. But before we dive deeper, I want you to pause. Right here, right now, I want you to hit that like button. Now you may be asking, Doc, why would I like a video before I even hear the full message? I'll tell you why, because hitting like isn't for me, it's for you. It's a simple act of commitment, a signal. When you tap like, you're not just telling YouTube you want to see more content like this. You're telling yourself, I matter, my health matters, my future matters. And here's something you may find hard to believe, but I've seen it again and again with the men in this community. Those who take that small step, those who decide, yes, I will engage, I will raise my hand, I will not sit silent. Those men are the ones who change. It's as if the universe leans in closer to them. So let me give you this blessing. For every man who taps like today, may your health improve, may your strength return, may your nights bring rest, and may joy surprise you in ways you did not expect. May the universe bring you the very thing your heart has been quietly wishing for. It sounds almost mystical, doesn't it? But think of it. Change always begins with one action, one decision, one choice to break silence and step forward. Liking this video is small, but it's symbolic. It's a way of saying, I'm not done yet. I refuse decline. I choose life. So go ahead, tap it now. You'll see what I mean. Because gentlemen, let's be honest. You've liked videos of dogs, cars, sports, or news before. Why not like a video that could add years of vitality to your life? Why not like a video that could save you from the very mistakes stealing your manhood and circulation? Now, let's return to the truth nobody else is saying out loud. I've been a urologist for more than 30 years. I've seen thousands of men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s come into my office, shoulders slumped, confidence fading, convinced they are broken. And yet, time and time again, I've watched those same men rediscover strength once they corrected their mistakes. Take Harold, 67, a retired firefighter. He told me, Doc, I thought I was finished. I thought my body had closed the chapter on vitality. But when we looked closer, his real problem wasn't age. It was the way he ignored recovery time, neglected his prostate's signals, and relied too much on quick fixes. Once he made changes, his body began to surprise him. His morning erections returned. His energy surged. His wife said, Doc, I don't know what you told him, but I feel like I got my husband back. Or look at David, 70, who thought sugar was harmless because he wasn't overweight. He didn't realize his nightly desserts were hardening his arteries, choking his circulation, and weakening his erections. 3 months after cutting sugar, he came back with tears in his eyes. Doc, I thought I was losing manhood. Turns out, I was just feeding the wrong thing. These are not miracles. They are the natural result of listening to the truth your body has been trying to whisper. And here's the promise. In this session, I will show you the mistakes quietly draining your health, and I will give you the keys to rebuild. We will talk about how frequency can backfire, how ignoring prostate signals can ruin sleep and intimacy, how rough technique can damage nerves, how neglecting recovery steals testosterone, and finally, how the right morning food can flip the switch on your circulation, restore vitality, and put you back in control. Gentlemen, decline is not your fate. You are not broken. You are simply missing the right strategy, and by the end of this video, you will know it. But remember, don't just listen passively. Engage, type in the comments, share if you got up at night. Write balance if you've ever wondered about your frequency. Write sleep if you know you need to protect your nights better, because the men who engage are the men who change, and I promise you I read every comment. So one last time before we begin, tap that like button. And here is my prayer for you. May those who like this video find strength returning to their bones, fire returning to their hearts, and the peace of knowing that the universe is not done with them yet. May your health improve, your joy increase, and may you receive the very thing you've been quietly longing for. You'll be amazed how often life delivers when you take the first step. Gentlemen, let's begin. Gentlemen, the very first mistake I want to spotlight is also the most common, overdoing frequency. For decades, you've been told the phrase, use it or lose it. The idea that the more active you are, even every day, the better you'll preserve function. And yes, in your 20s or 30s, that logic made some sense. Your body rebounded fast. Hormones surged like clockwork, nerves reset overnight, but after 60, the rules change. What once kept you sharp now quietly drains you. I'll never forget Robert, 65, a retired schoolteacher who sat across from me looking utterly defeated. He said, "Doc, I thought if I kept at it daily, I'd stay strong. But the more I do it, the weaker I feel. My erections are softer, my sleep is broken, and my energy is gone." He thought he was losing his manhood. In reality, he was simply overtraining. Here's what most men don't realize. Every release triggers a cascade of changes. Testosterone dips temporarily. Prolactin rises, dampening desire. The nervous system shifts from drive mode into rest mode. Pelvic nerves fire and then fatigue. Nitric oxide, which powers circulation, needs time to replenish. At 25, this reset can take hours. At 65, it may take days. Ignore that cycle, and you're not training your body, you're punishing it. Science makes this crystal clear. A study published in the International Journal of Impotence Research showed that older men who pushed frequency too high actually had lower testosterone, more fatigue, and greater erectile problems than men who paced themselves. In other words, more was not better, more was worse. Think of it this way, your body is a rechargeable battery. In youth, you could drain it and it refilled overnight. In age, the charge takes longer. If you keep draining before it's full, the battery never recovers, and over time, the capacity itself shrinks. Gentlemen, this explains why so many of you feel brain fog, irritability, or lack of motivation. You think it's just aging, but often it's simply imbalance. You're asking your system to give when it hasn't finished restoring, and so you feel depleted. Here's the good news: balance restores power. For most men over 60, once or twice a week is enough to stay healthy, vital, and confident. Some men do fine at 3, but daily or worse, multiple times a day becomes counterproductive. Robert, the schoolteacher, finally trusted the process. He cut back from daily to twice a week. At first, he panicked. "Doc, I'm afraid I'll lose everything if I don't keep going." But something unexpected happened. Within a month, his morning erections returned. His sleep deepened. His energy stabilized. His wife whispered to me, "Doc, I got my husband back. He's calmer, warmer, not drained all the time." That's what balance does. So here's my question for you, gentlemen. Are you pushing too hard out of fear, or are you willing to trust recovery and discover that less can be more? If you're honest enough to say, "Yes, maybe I've been overdoing it," then type the word balance in the comments right now. You'll be surprised how many men here share the same struggle. And remember, when you type it, you're not just writing a word, you're making a choice. And before we move on, tap that like button. Not as a favor to me, but as a promise to yourself. A promise that you'll stop draining your battery and start protecting it. And here is my blessing. May every man who taps like today find his energy restored, his nights stronger, and his mornings filled with confidence. Mistake #1 is about frequency, and once you correct it, you'll feel strength returning. But there's another mistake that often follows close behind, ignoring the quiet signals your body is sending through your prostate. Signals that, if you keep brushing off, will one day roar loud enough that you can't ignore them. Gentlemen, mistake number 2 is one that silently robs older men of peace, energy, and manhood, ignoring the signals from your prostate. So let me ask you a blunt question right now. Yes or no, did you wake up more than once last night to urinate? If your answer is yes, your prostate is already speaking to you. If your answer is no, then count yourself fortunate, but stay alert because for most men after 60, those signals eventually arrive. The sad truth is most men laugh it off. They joke about the midnight shuffle to the bathroom. They tell themselves, well, I'm older now. This is normal. But gentlemen, listen carefully. That is not normal. It is a warning sign, a whisper from your body that something deeper is brewing. Here's why. The prostate is small, but it sits at the crossroads of your urinary and reproductive systems. When it becomes inflamed or enlarged, and this happens more often with age, poor diet, or overstimulation, it squeezes the urethra like a hand around a hose. The stream weakens. The bladder strains. You feel like you're never fully empty. And all the while, circulation suffers, erections weaken, and sleep is destroyed. I'll tell you about Leonard, 69, a retired accountant. He chuckled in my office. Doc, I don't need an alarm clock anymore. My bladder wakes me up every 2 hours. He thought it was a joke, but his test results told another story. Significant prostate enlargement, early kidney stress, and chronic inflammation. What he dismissed as just age was quietly eroding his health. And this isn't just anecdote. Research from the Mayo Clinic shows that untreated prostate enlargement doesn't just disturb sleep. It doubles the risk of urinary tract infections, increases inflammation, and accelerates erectile dysfunction. Yet most men delay seeking help until the condition is advanced because they feel embarrassed, ashamed, or convinced nothing can be done. Gentlemen, ignoring prostate signals doesn't make them harmless. It makes them louder. Your body always whispers first. Frequent urination, weak stream, dribbling afterward, pressure in the lower abdomen, those are whispers. If you keep ignoring them, eventually your body will scream. Painful infections, blockages, even complete shutdown of erectile function. The good news, you can act early. You can protect your prostate before those whispers turn into roars. Hydrate smart. Drink plenty of water during the day, but cut back at night. Eat prostate-friendly foods. Tomatoes, pumpkin seeds, cruciferous vegetables, they calm inflammation. Move your body. Walking improves circulation to the pelvic region. Balanced stimulation. Overdoing frequency irritates the prostate. Balanced habits protect it. Leonard, the accountant, finally listened. He cut alcohol in the evenings, adjusted his diet, and began light walking. 3 months later, he returned with tears in his eyes. Doc, I'm finally sleeping 6 hours straight. My wife says it feels like we're 20 years younger, not just because I rest, but because she does too. That is the power of listening early. So I'll ask you again, did you get up last night more than once? Drop a simple yes or no in the comments. It may seem small, but it's the first step in admitting where you stand. And when you do, you'll be surprised at how many other men here type the same. This is not weakness, it's wisdom. And before we continue, hit that like button. Because every man who does is saying, I will no longer ignore my body's signals. And here is my blessing. May those who like today find their nights peaceful, their mornings stronger, and their health protected. Mistake #2 is ignoring the prostate's voice. But once you learn to listen, you gain control. And that prepares us for mistake number 3, the one hiding in your very technique. The way you touch and train your body, often without realizing you're causing long-term harm. Gentlemen, the third mistake is one that most men would never admit out loud, but it quietly damages them every time, using the wrong technique. Let's be honest, many of you formed habits decades ago. Back when you were young, full of hormones and chasing quick release, you gripped harder, you moved faster, you trained yourself to finish without thinking of the long-term effects, and in your 20s, you got away with it. But in your 60s and 70s, that same technique can desensitize nerves, injure circulation, and slowly rob you of natural response. Think about it. The nerves that control erection and pleasure run along the base of the penis like fragile wiring. They are sensitive, finely tuned, designed to respond to gentle stimulation. When you squeeze too hard or rely on friction that no partner could ever replicate, those nerves adapt. They dull. They stop firing the way they should. What once heightened sensitivity now deadens it. I'll give you a real example. Charles, 71, a retired truck driver, came to me nearly in tears. "Doc," he said, "I can't feel anything unless I do it myself, and even then, it takes forever." His wife was frustrated, he felt humiliated, and their intimacy was collapsing. When I asked about his habits, the truth came out. For years on the road, alone in motels, he relied on what's called the death grip, an overly tight, forceful technique. Over time, he had trained his brain and nerves to respond only to that. And Charles is not alone. Natural Intimacy, no longer study published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine, coined the term masturbation-induced erectile dysfunction. It described exactly this phenomenon. Men relying on aggressive or unnatural techniques were far more likely to experience long-term sensitivity loss and erectile difficulties. Here's the irony. What starts as a shortcut to pleasure becomes a barrier to intimacy. You think you're keeping yourself sharp, but you're actually training your body in the opposite direction. So what's the solution? Retraining. It requires patience, but it works. Ease up. Use less pressure, less force, change the pacing, focus on slower rhythm, not racing to the end, reconnect the brain, focus on sensation, not just outcome, visualize natural intimacy, not artificial extremes. Give it time. Nerves can recover, but only if you stop numbing them. Charles made the shift. He said at first it felt impossible, like his body forgot how to respond. But with patience, within months, sensitivity began to return. His wife noticed before he did. One evening she whispered, "Doc, I finally see the spark in his eyes again." That's the reward of retraining. Gentlemen, let me ask you plainly, are you training your body toward connection or toward numbness? Every technique you use is either a vote for long-term health or a vote against it. And here's where I want you to engage. If you've ever wondered whether your technique might be holding you back, type the word reset in the comments. It's one word, but it signals that you're ready to start over, to retrain, to give your body a second chance. And as always, don't forget to hit that like button. Because every man who likes today's message is saying, I choose sensitivity, I choose connection, I choose life. And may the universe bless those men with restored vitality, renewed intimacy, and a joy that surprises them. Mistake #3 is all about how you do it. And once you change the technique, you'll unlock doors you thought were closed forever. But there's another mistake, subtler yet just as damaging, that older men make, neglecting recovery time. And that's where we're headed next. Gentlemen, mistake number 4 is one that hides in pride. It's the belief that you can push your body every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, and never pay the price. The mistake, neglecting recovery time. Here's the blunt truth. Your body is not a machine. It's a finely tuned system of hormones, nerves, and blood vessels. Every time you release, that system has to reset. And after 60, that reset takes far longer than you think. Let's break it down. Hormones. After climax, testosterone drops while prolactin spikes. That prolactin surge is what makes you feel finished for a while. In younger men, testosterone rebounds quickly. But in older men, prolactin lingers longer. Testosterone may take days to return to baseline. If you push before the rebound, you're not training strength, you're suppressing it. Nervous system. Your pelvic nerves are like electrical wires. Each release is a surge of current, but afterward, those wires need time to cool. Overstimulation without recovery dulls the sensitivity. That's why men who push too soon often notice weaker arousal, slower response, or numbness. The wiring hasn't reset. Circulation. Erections depend on nitric oxide, the molecule that relaxes blood vessels and allows flow. But nitric oxide stores deplete with each use. They rebuild naturally through rest, sleep, and healthy blood flow. But if you don't allow that, circulation suffers. You try again, and instead of a full response, you get half. I had a patient named Edward, 72, a retired engineer. He came to me proud. "Doc, I never miss a day, still going strong." But the truth was written on his face: dark circles, fatigue, irritability. His lab results told the story: testosterone flatlined, cortisol elevated, blood pressure climbing. His prostate was inflamed from constant strain. He thought he was proving discipline. In reality, he was slowly burning himself out. We made one simple shift: recovery. I told him, "Edward, give your body 2 or 3 days between. Support it with walking, hydration, and better sleep. Let the system rebuild before you demand again." He resisted at first, afraid he would lose everything. But within weeks, his morning erections returned stronger, his energy stabilized, and his wife told me with a smile, "Doc, he finally looks alive again." Gentlemen, this is the power of rest. It is not laziness. It is wisdom. You would never go to the gym, tear your muscles every day without rest, and expect to grow stronger. Why treat your most sensitive system with less respect? And science confirms this. A 2016 study in the Journal of Urology found that men who built recovery into their sexual rhythm had significantly lower rates of erectile dysfunction and higher testosterone compared to those who pushed daily. Rest is not wasted time. It's the training ground where resilience is rebuilt. So let me ask you, are you giving your body the space it needs, or are you rushing because you're afraid of losing it? Be honest. If you know you've been rushing, type rest in the comments. It's a commitment to honor your body instead of punishing it. And before we move on, tap that like button, because every man who does is saying, "I choose to rebuild, not just to repeat." And here's my blessing. May those who like today find peace in their nights, strength in their mornings, and dignity in every year ahead. Mistake #4 is about recovery. Ignore it and you slowly erode the foundation. Respect it, and you restore the very core of your manhood. From here, we must tackle the next great trap older men fall into: placing all their hope in pills instead of rebuilding the root. Gentlemen, the 5th mistake is one that has trapped millions of older men, relying on pills instead of fixing the root. Now, let me be clear. I'm not here to shame anyone who has taken medication. I've prescribed them myself. Pills can help. They can offer a quick boost, restore confidence, and buy time. But here's the truth almost nobody says out loud: pills don't heal, they mask. And if you lean on them without fixing the underlying problems, you're building your house on sand. I'll give you a story. Thomas, 71, came to me with a small plastic bag full of prescriptions. "Doc, they worked at first," he said, "but now nothing." He thought the drugs had failed him. But when I examined him, the real truth was clear. His blood vessels were clogged, his nerves dulled, his testosterone suppressed. Pills can amplify blood flow, but only if there's flow left to amplify. And in Thomas's case, there wasn't. Research backs this up. A study in the Journal of Sexual Medicine found that nearly 40% of older men who relied solely on medication reported the pills became less effective over time. Not because the drug changed, but because the body beneath kept declining. And here's the danger. Every time you choose the quick fix, you postpone the real fix. You delay working on circulation. You avoid supporting your prostate. You skip recovery. You ignore blood sugar and sleep. And slowly, year by year, the foundation crumbles until not even the strongest pill can help. Think of it like jumper cables. If your car battery is weak, jumper cables can start the engine. But if you never replace the battery, eventually no cable in the world will help. Pills are jumper cables. Your body is the battery. If you don't rebuild the battery, you're chasing sparks instead of power. So what's the answer? Use medication, if needed, as a bridge, not the foundation. While you do, rebuild your body. Circulation, daily walks, nitric oxide foods like beets and spinach. Hormones, protect sleep, lift weights, eat healthy fats. Nerves, train your pelvic floor, respect recovery time. Prostate, eat anti-inflammatory foods, hydrate smartly, get checked. When Thomas embraced this approach, his story changed. 6 months later, he came back and said, "Doc, I still have the prescription, but honestly, I don't need it like before. My body works on its own again." That's the power of fixing the root. Gentlemen, let me ask you plainly, are you building your future on a pill or on your body's natural strength? If you've ever felt dependent and want freedom, type freedom in the comments. Let the world see you're ready to go deeper than the quick fix. And don't forget, hit that like button. Not for me, but as your declaration that you will no longer live on borrowed strength. And may every man who taps like today find his circulation renewed, his confidence rebuilt, and his body alive again. Mistake #5 is trusting pills more than yourself. But once you see through the illusion, you realize the most powerful medicine is free. It's in your bed every single night. And that takes us to mistake number 6, forgetting the role of sleep. Gentlemen, mistake number 6 is one of the most underestimated killers of men's health after 60, forgetting the role of sleep. You see, most men think sleep is just rest. Something you can cut short when life gets busy. Something you can trade for late-night TV, scrolling on your phone, or a glass of whiskey before bed. But the truth is this: sleep is not optional. Sleep is the most powerful anabolic drug your body produces, free, natural, and irreplaceable. And when you neglect it, you don't just lose hours of rest. You lose hormones, circulation, and vitality. Let's break down what happens when you skip sleep. Hormones. Testosterone is rebuilt at night. In fact, the majority of daily testosterone production happens during deep sleep. Harvard researchers found that men sleeping fewer than 5 hours a night had testosterone levels comparable to men 10 to 15 years older. Imagine aging a decade just because you stayed up watching reruns. That's the real cost. Circulation. Erections depend on nitric oxide and flexible arteries. During deep sleep, your blood vessels repair themselves and your nitric oxide levels are replenished. Miss that window and your morning erections vanish, your arteries stiffen, and your energy drains before lunchtime. Nervous system. Sleep is when your nerves hit the reset button. Without it, your pelvic nerves stay overworked and inflamed. That's why men who neglect sleep often feel jittery, unfocused, and disconnected, even when they eat right and exercise. Cortisol. Poor sleep spikes cortisol, your stress hormone. High cortisol means more belly fat, more prostate inflammation, weaker erections, and constant fatigue. It's a vicious cycle: no sleep, more stress, more weakness, less sleep. I had a patient, Martin, 66, a retired electrician. He came to me complaining, "Doc, I do everything, eat right, exercise, even pelvic floor work, but I'm still drained." His wife whispered the truth. He's up until 1 a.m. every night watching late-night shows. That was the missing piece. Once Martin committed to a bedtime, lights out by 10:30, no screens in bed, a short walk after dinner, his life changed. Within weeks, his energy returned, his memory sharpened, and his wife smiled, "Doc, he's finally outpacing me again." Gentlemen, this is the hidden secret. Lack of sleep is not harmless. It is a slow poison. It ages you, weakens you, and steals your manhood piece by piece. So let me ask you directly, when was the last time you woke up truly refreshed, ready to take on the day? If you can't remember, that's your wake-up call. Here are some simple steps to restore sleep. Go to bed at the same time every night. Walk for 10 minutes after dinner to calm your blood sugar. Keep your bedroom cool, dark, and free from screens. Avoid alcohol before bed. It disrupts deep sleep. Gentlemen, protect your nights as fiercely as you protect your paycheck. Because no supplement, no pill, no shortcut can replace what 7 to 8 hours of true sleep gives you for free. And here's where I want you to engage. If you know you've been neglecting sleep, type sleep in the comments. Write it as your pledge to take back your nights. And if this message resonates, hit that like button. Because every man who taps like today is saying, "I will rest, I will heal, I will rise again." and may those who like find deeper nights, calmer minds, and stronger mornings. Mistake #6 is neglecting sleep. But once you reclaim it, you unlock the foundation of vitality. And from there, we face another silent saboteur, a daily choice at the table that can either fuel your strength or slowly harden your arteries: blood sugar. Gentlemen, mistake number 7 is one that creeps in silently, without pain at first, without obvious warning, but it slowly corrodes the foundation of a man's health: ignoring blood sugar control. Most men think sugar is just about weight. Eat too much, you get a belly. They shrug it off. I'm not overweight, so I'm fine. But the truth is far more dangerous. Blood sugar doesn't just affect your waistline. It affects your arteries, your nerves, your testosterone, your sleep, and ultimately your manhood. Here's the science. Every time you eat processed sugar, cookies, soda, white bread, late-night pastries, your blood sugar spikes. That spike creates a storm inside your blood vessels. The inner lining, called the endothelium, becomes scarred. Those vessels stiffen, harden, and lose their flexibility. And when your arteries are stiff, blood can't flow the way it should. Erections weaken, circulation falters, energy collapses. I had a patient named David, 70, a retired steel worker. He sat across from me one morning, frustrated. "Doc, the switch just doesn't flip anymore." His blood work told the truth: fasting glucose through the roof, A1C creeping upward, insulin resistance well underway. He wasn't just dealing with erectile dysfunction. His entire circulatory system was under siege. We made simple but powerful changes, replacing his nightly desserts with a handful of nuts and berries, adding 15-minute walks after meals, and trimming down processed carbs. Within 3 months, his morning glucose dropped, his circulation improved, and his vitality returned. His words: "Doc, I thought I was losing manhood. Turns out I was just feeding the enemy." And he's not alone. A 2013 study in the Journal of Sexual Medicine found that men with poor blood sugar control were nearly twice as likely to experience erectile dysfunction compared to men with stable glucose. Twice as likely. That's not chance. That's cause and effect. But it's not just about blood flow. High blood sugar also inflames nerves, and erections rely on sensitive nerve signaling. Damage those nerves and you dull sensation, delay arousal, and in severe cases lose function completely. Add in the fact that high sugar lowers testosterone and disrupts sleep, and you begin to see the full picture. Sugar is not harmless. It is sabotage. Gentlemen, ignoring blood sugar is like letting termites eat at the beams of your house. You don't see the damage at first. But years later, when the structure collapses, you realize the destruction was happening all along. So what can you do? Cut out processed sugar, ditch sodas, pastries, and late-night snacks. Add fiber, vegetables, legumes, and whole grains. Slow down sugar spikes. Walk after meals. Even 10 minutes lowers blood glucose naturally. Prioritize sleep. Poor sleep worsens insulin resistance. Stay hydrated. Water supports circulation and helps regulate sugar levels. The beauty is this: once you stabilize blood sugar, you don't just protect your erections. You protect your heart, your brain, your prostate, and your lifespan. So let me ask you directly, what's worth more, 5 minutes of sweetness on your tongue, or years of strength, confidence, and fire in your body? If you're ready to take sugar seriously, type "no sugar" in the comments. Let the world see you're choosing vitality over cravings. And before we continue, tap that like button. Because every man who does is saying, "I will no longer feed the enemy. I will protect my body, my blood, and my future." And may every man who likes this video find freedom from cravings, clarity in mind, and power in his circulation. Mistake #7 is ignoring blood sugar control. But once you face it, you gain back years of vitality. And that sets the stage for the final truth we must face. Your body is not broken, but it is waiting for you to lead. Which takes us into our closing word.